am having an amazing time with this World Championship. These two players just keep on giving. Before I jump into the game today, I would like to share with you my experience watching this game. So first, let me make myself invisible and then tell you that this is where I sit, hanging out, chilling out, enjoying the live commentary. And today's video is going to be different from other videos because every 10, 15, 20 moves or so of the game, I am going to record my analysis, and then I'm going to return to the stream and watch what the players have then done. So for the first time, I won't know the result of the game while I analyze. I hope you enjoy. As always in chess, we start with the opening. We see Jan Nepomniachtchi with the white pieces opening up with pawn to e4. Best white test. No surprises here. It's a very popular move. But already Mr. Ding Liren is surprising us because he plays pawn to e6, signifying the French defense. Already a huge surprise to me. We see d4 and d5. It is indeed the French defense. This was last seen at the World Chess Championship level in 1978 in the match between Karpov and Korchnoi, where Karpov defended his World Chess Championship title. That particular game, the one game they played in the French defense, was a draw. The French defense has fallen out of favor a lot since particularly the neural network computers like AlphaZero and Lila Chess started getting to prominence in about 5-6 years ago, 2017, something like that, because it allows quite a lot of activity. And we found out that with the new era of computer chess, that chess should actually probably be played very actively, very dynamically, and the old style of the computers, the extremely defensive, no risk style that came from the Minimax algorithm, turned out not to be correct because AlphaZero crushed the old Minimax Stockfish with like 28-0 with a bunch of draws in a 100-game match. So then the French defense has fallen out of favor, but Ding, he is playing all crazy openings this World Championship. It seems like he's just making stuff up as he goes. It's just extremely, extremely interesting. Now the question becomes, what kind of French defense will this be? Advanced, yawn, boring. Exchange, yawn, boring. But Jan is not a yawn. Jan is amazing and awesome, and he's an attacking monster. So he plays the Tarrasch. So this is named after Siegbert Tarrasch. Like 100 years ago, he came up with this move. So they are really pulling a theory from history, and it is just absolutely amazing. Now, what kind of opening will this really be? Because, Ding, are you really dangling a piece of flesh at the mouth of the lion here? Are you going to allow an open French defense? Oh yes, pawn to c5 by Ding Liren, the open French. So we see knight to f3, defending the pawn that is attacked. Liren chops it off. We're going to see why this is called the open. Just a moment. Of course, it's recaptured by Jan. And then we see knight to f6. This is all most popular moves in the theory of this opening. This knight is saying hello to the center pawn. So it is going to be captured in one way or the other. And Jan chooses the other. Pawn takes pawn, like so. And knight takes pawn. And that is why this is the open version of the Tarrasch French. Because these two center pawns from white, these two center pawns, they are now gone, allowing a lot of maneuverability. After knight on the second line to f3, we suddenly see that there are no pawns in the center of the board, and this bishop has free range, this bishop has free range, the queen can come out. This can turn into a dynamic attacking game from white very, very quickly. Here Liren plays a pretty rare move in this position. He plays bishop to e7. Normally you would see something like bishop to b4 check. But this is an old move. The only game in the database with this move is Vladimir Kramnik, who with white faced this against a pretty strong grandmaster. I forget his name, but he was 2650 or something. And that game ended in a draw. That was in 1996. That's a long time ago. Like in that game, Kramnik played bishop to c4, and that is also what his countryman Jan Nepomniachtchi chooses, attacking the knight. And this was the last move of theory, the last known move. As a famous chess content creator would say, it is as of this point we have a completely new game. Knight to c6 by Liren, and that is the opening theory. This is now a completely unique position, never seen before, except probably in Jan's home preparation. Normally I would say that Liren would obviously also have had this position in his computer at home and analyzed it very deeply with his seconds. However, we have seen in this World Championship that Liren is not relying very heavily on theory, to put it mildly. He is just being very, very creative. Maybe there is a bit of a sad reason for that, because Liren, although he is obviously one of the absolute strongest players in the world, any top 3 list without him would be wrong, basically. He is from China, where chess is less popular, and he has not enjoyed the support that we have for players from everywhere else. If you're from India, you get a lot of support. If you're from the US, you get a lot of support. If you're from Russia, you get a lot of support. But not so much in China. So it may be the case that he simply couldn't afford seconds to help him prepare for this World Championship as much as the other guys. But the seconds he got are amazing. We see Richard report, and do yourself a favor and watch how like the bromance these two guys are having. Richard Rapport, of course, a top grandmaster and an amazing guy helping Ding out. Now let's go to the next part of the game. Okay, so we have some developments for the next 8 moves, where I have to say that Ding is playing with fire. First of all, we see some clarification. Jan plays knight takes knight, and obviously pawn takes knight. Then castles and castles, both players castles, very sensible. But now Jan plays this Really interesting idea. Queen to e2. Now, what is that about? What is that about? Well, here we see queen to be a bishop to b7. We know what that is about. That is about, at some point, pushing this pawn and having this diagonal towards the king with a very strong bishop. Nothing mysterious there. And here, Jan surprised me again. He played bishop back to d3. Okay. Why? What is that bishop doing there? Why put it on c4 in the first place? Well, let's see. Queen to c7. Very sensible move by Ding. Just controlling this diagonal, having this bishop and this queen potentially looking at the king here. But now we see the point of queen to e2. We see queen e4, threatening just checkmate. So that, of course, has to be defended. Knight back to f6. I got you, bro. Knight defending the checkmate on h7. So queen h4. Now this move reminds me of the Tal Smyslov game that I also covered on the channel, where Tal actually sacrificed this bishop on c4 against Smyslov in 1959 in order to play queen to h4 and get the pieces, the queen, the knight, and this bishop very close to Black's king. And here it seems that Jan is able to do something like that without sacrificing anything. And Jan is an attacking just maestro. I would be very concerned if I were in Ding's shoes. Obviously, I would be very concerned because it doesn't matter what the position I would lose against Jan, but let's upgrade me to a super grandmaster and I would still be very, very concerned about this position here, because the queen is also looking at f4. So we can see a bishop to f4 harassing the queen. So there's no checkmate. So Ding has time to play pawn to c5, opening up this bishop. We could think about chopping this knight off, would have to awkwardly recapture with the pawn, but there is no time. We see the move as previously discussed, bishop to f4, claiming this diagonal, and we see the awesome power of the two bishops in the open game. The fact that the pawn structure is quite open and we don't have these center pawns means that these bishops are very, very, very powerful. As you can see, they control a lot of squares, attacking the queen, also attacking the king. Queen goes to b6, and in comes the knight, knight e5. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces very close to the opponent's king, while the rooks, curiously, not participating in the attack. Those are the very heavy pieces, we call them. They are stronger than the bishops, stronger than the knight. You can compare the rook to the bishop and say they can both go as far as they want in 4 directions, like this or like that. But when you have a bishop, it cannot leave its color complex. The dark squared bishop is trapped on the dark squares, the light squared bishop trapped on the light squares. What does that mean? It means that they each have a total of 32 squares they can go to on the chessboard, while the rooks have 64. So obviously the rooks have to be better, but the way they are placed in the opening phase of the game means it takes a longer time. So I would say these are the heavy pieces. These are the light pieces. What does light also mean? It means fast. And maybe we will even see light fast. The speed of light, maybe an attack coming up here, because Jan is really, really pushing for something here. And Ding is curiously allowing it. After knight to e5, we see the final move of this part of the opening, and that is rook to e5. rook to d8. Okay, wow. We have more moves and the fight is on. You know what I should mention? I should mention that I spent maybe 2 seconds saying that ding played rook a to d8. Ding spent a good 20 minutes coming up with that move. And it's not just putting a rook on the open file. This rook right here, it wants to join the defense. It wants to defend actively. And let's see how Ding does it. So Jan also slides his rook over, rook a to e1. This does a couple of things. It actually protects the knight, and this knight will come under attack. It's a very active, very important piece in the middle of the board, and this bishop doesn't want to be guarding that forever. This bishop wants to attack, and we see this immediately. We see g6 from Ding. This is to make this bishop a little less strong, because we see the queen and the bishop coordinating all these checkmating attacks, and the knight is the only one holding it all together. So we see bishop to g5 from Jan, and here we see the first point of this rook move, and the next couple of moves are just either Ding is crazy or more likely he is a freaking genius. So rook here, rook to d4, attacking the queen. No problem, we go back with the queen. Now queen to c7. So if this rook hadn't been here, this would be a double threat, attacking this knight and also threatening to push this pawn, which is a big threat, which would basically make white's entire position fall apart. The only sort of way you could, like, you can't play it here, because then you hang this. You can't capture. It's defended once, attacked twice, and all the other squares. So this is a pretty significant threat. Jan meets it with pawn to b3, so now we can cover the c4 square. And here we begin to see like Ding just doing magical Ding stuff. So he plays knight to h5. This comes with a threat of bishop takes bishop. Jan does not want to play bishop takes bishop himself. He wants to be more active than black and pushes pieces forward. He does not want to voluntarily get a less active position. So what does he do? He plays pawn to f4. This is basically saying, okay, you can capture my bishop, but then I will recapture with the pawn. I will now have a pawn closer to your king. It will sort of make it very difficult for you to play h6 or f6 or anything like that, and I will have activated this rook, which will now be on an open file. That Ding is not interested in. He plays bishop to d6. And now we see the point of this knight on the rim is dim. Well, not if it's played by Ding. So we see pawn to c3, asking a very important question of the black pieces. Jan is saying, wait a minute, where are you going to go with that rook? That rook looks pretty darn trapped to me. And Ding says, oh, I'm not going to move that rook. I'm going to play knight takes pawn on f4. Okay? And I should mention earlier, by the way, that instead of pawn to c3, you may think in one of these positions that there will be a threat of f6 forking these two pieces. I was a bit confused about that, but it turns out that queen takes e6 with check is always going to win. So that is why we see this variation. Not trying to go for any cheapo here with knight takes f4. And what is going on? So we win the knight. Bishop takes. It's defended by the rook. Okay, we have a knight now. Let's keep track here. So white lost a pawn, black lost a knight. But rook takes bishop. Okay. So now Ding is a pawn ahead, 3 points, and a pawn. But this rook is not protected, so rook takes rook. Okay. Now this knight here is attacked twice, only defended once, so bishop takes knight, attacking the rook. So the rook goes to h4. Okay. Kind of a cool rook lift here, attacking h7. And what's the material count? Well, 5 points for the rook, 3 points here, and 3 plus 3 plus 1. So this is an exchange sacrifice for 1 pawn. So materially, you would say that Ding is down 1 pawn. And you would also say that the rook and the queen looks menacing here. How are you going to defend this? Are you going to play an ugly move like pawn to h5? That would be like could be quite problematic with this bishop also being very strong. Some sacrifices possibly coming in. No. We see rook to d8. Just saying, yeah, you can come and capture this. Because if you do, you're not getting any further. Because you want to play rook h8 with check. Are you going to do that? Not while my bishop is here. And so if we see rook takes pawn, we can now see rook takes bishop. That threatens the queen. If we have no time to play a check here because that will just be captured. We have no time to capture this bishop as an intermezzo, so because it's defended by the queen and also our own queen is attacked. So there's no time for rook takes h7. So that's the next 8 move of the game. And do you know the craziest thing about this is that this is a very unbalanced position. We have these super strong bishops, but we have good rooks, and the rook is worth more than the bishop, and this bishop is also good. The queen is attacking. But do you know what the computer is saying? The computer is saying both players are playing basically perfectly, and this is completely fine for black. Ding just has to keep on finding the perfect moves and the very original plans that you need to defend this, and he's going to hold this to a draw. That is what the computer is saying, but he's getting low on time. He is less than 20 minutes now, and there is a good 16 move until they reach move 40, where they will get more time. So yeah, this is my favorite World Chess Championship of all time. Okay, I'll go back to the game and let's see what happens then. Oh my god. Oh my god. Guys. Oh my god. Like, before this, I just saw the end of the game. Before this was my favorite World Chess Championship ever. And now it's my favorite thing ever. I don't know how I go from there, but it just keeps on happening. Unbelievable. The bishop is attacked. We saw these lines where you can't go and capture on h7. so the bishop, because rook takes bishop. So Jan plays bishop e7. And what I haven't mentioned is an advantage that Jan has that's not on the board. He has been putting so much pressure on Ding, and Ding has found these like genius move after genius move to just hold back the attacking force that is Jan Nepomniachtchi. But it took a lot of time, and he's down on the clock. He is at 15 minutes now. There is no increment. He doesn't get, like sometimes in some tournaments when you make a move, they add 5 seconds to your clock every time you make a move. No, nothing. He has to get to move 40. We are at move 28 or something, and he's at 15 minutes. He has less than a minute for each move now. But he plays bishop takes bishop. That's the best move. And by the way, he played it with a piece looking exactly like this, because I have this is the World Chess Championship set, and yeah, if you want to buy it, I have a link in the description and a promo code ASMRChess10 that gives you a 10% discount on these hand-carved, beautiful, premium luxury chess pieces and chess boards. So yeah, if you want to go over these games or play with your friends on the same set same type of set that Nepo and Ding are playing on, there you have it, and you'll be supporting my channel as well. Okay, bishop takes bishop, then rook on h takes bishop. I'm sure Jan would have loved to keep the rook on h and capture with the other rook, but rook check to the back rank is too dangerous, so we capture it like this. Now these two rooks are attacking the bishop, and Ding defends it with the rook, making this rook a more active piece as well. Can also look after the c-pawn at some point. And Jan says, okay, you can have your bishop. I'm not going to do that anyway. I was just here to capture the light squared bishop. I'll go back to h4, attacking h7. And in order to now defend h7, we see the centralizing move queen to d6 by Ding. Again, using this idea of if you come and capture my h-pawn, you won't have time for a checkmate because I have this monster bishop that can come in and capture your rook, and I will simply be able to play rook to d1 and actually win the game from that position. So Jan is thinking, okay, I'm never really going to be able to do that if I need to checkmate you on h8. So what do? I play queen to e3 with the idea of coming to h6 and then not checkmating on h8, but on h7 come in with the check there and get a strong attack there, win the pawn. And that's a very dangerous idea. It has to be met, and Jan has consistently just put a lot of pressure on Ding this game, and Ding has been playing in a way too well. He made these really beautiful exchange sacrifice with the knight, all these just beautiful, super precise ideas, and it cost him a lot of time. Here he plays h5. It stops the attack. It's a very good move. And actually here, Jan does not have that much to do. It's not that much he can do. You can't really move this rook here because the queen and bishop are lined up against h2. So if you try to say, okay, I will maybe go here, put pressure on the a7 pawn, no, you lose the game on h2, so that doesn't work. And yeah, there are not really many moves to play here. So Jan plays g3, one of the only moves that maintains the tension and does not give him a worse position. But then Ding says, okay, I don't have an attack here. I'm not going to capture on h2, but I'll harass this rook just a little bit. Bishop f6 attacking the rook. But now the rook doesn't have to defend h2, so Jan slides it over and says, okay, I'm going to tie you up just a little bit to this pawn. You have it adequately defended, defending 2 times. I'm attacking it 2 times, but I am not letting go of my grip. Yes, the position is pretty close. It's pretty close that you can claim the draw, you can get the draw. It's pretty close, but it's unbalanced. I have the rooks, you have the bishop and pawn. And I have an unsafe king, but my rooks are strong. Here Ding is on little under 9 minutes. Here Ding is under a little under 10 minutes. A little under. He then spends almost 5 minutes on one of the best moves in the position, h4, which Jan quickly captures. G takes h4. This pawn sacrifice, because it is a pawn sacrifice, the idea is to play bishop back to d6 and reignite the threat here on h2. But something happened here. Ding had 5 minutes left. And then he spent 4 minutes and 20 seconds, leaving himself with like 40 seconds on the move rook to e2, threatening checkmate. Not just capturing the pawn on h2, but threatening a checkmate here. And Jan, seeing that he had 15 minutes left, 20 minutes left, let me actually just check. Jan had 11 minutes and 48 seconds left here, according to Lichess. And he calculated the whole thing, and he played rook to e2, stopping this. And now you have to, because the rook is attacked twice, so you have to move the rook. Where do you put the rook? The crucial thing here is to give the check first. But he didn't. He played rook to d3, attacking the queen. And Jan was watching the game. There's a little back room where he can sit, watch the game on the screen and have a cup of tea. And he sort of sauntered back, looked at the position for a little while, and then he played queen takes on c5. And Ding did not resign, but he is in deep, deep, deep trouble. Now the queen and the rook, they are active now. And this whole thing about saying, oh, I have a bishop while you have a rook, I have sacrificed the exchange, that whole thing only really works if you have counterplay. If you get this down to a dry endgame where the queens come off and it's rook and two rooks versus rook and bishop and equal pawns, even though these are a little weird, these double pawns, it's easily winning for white. So Ding played a desperate rook e1 check. King to g2. What's going on? Is there some brilliant combination that Ding has figured out? Is that what's going on? Queen to e3, attacking the rook. Is this a dangerous checkmating attack? He has no time left. He's on like 12 seconds. Rook to f2. And then mysteriously king g7. After all these brilliant, brilliant moves. And it's just rook on c to f4. Taking the bishop twice. Ding tried. Queen takes c3. But before Jan was able to make a move, Liren resigned, guys. He resigned and Jan wins with the white pieces. He now has 4 points to Liren's 3 points. We have had 7 games and we have had 2 draws. We have had 5 decisive games in 7 games in the World Chess Championship. What? How awesome is chess? How awesome is chess? Okay, let's understand what's going on here. The problem here is, so Ding captured here. So that the queen now protects the bishop. The bishop is protected twice. But it doesn't really matter. We can just capture the queen. Necessitating, if that's a word, bishop takes queen and rook takes here. That is check. I guess you could go here. But this endgame is easily winning for black. For white, I mean, for white rather. It would be amazing if it was winning for black. So first of all, the bishop can only be on the light squares. These 2 pawns are not on the light squares. This one is protected by this pawn. Can we attack this? It is already defended. We could go after these, but the king is nicely protecting one of them. And these 3 pawns we have left here, they are all isolated. There are no pawns that can protect them, so we need pieces to protect them. We need them to be on dark squares, for instance, for the bishop to defend. It's just not going to work, particularly not against a super grandmaster and attacking genius like Jan Nepomniachtchi, who is now up a point again in this. The immortal, you know what this is? This is the immortal World Chess Championship. That's what it is. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.